Good morning or good evening, good day, wherever you are coming from, where you're listening from. I am today. It's a very rainy day on the Sunshine Coast here in British Columbia, Canada, where I'm recording this message, this sermonette. I want to say hello to those of you who are going to be listening to this message on my YouTube channel, and blessings to you. Whether you are in Pakistan or in Africa somewhere or anywhere else in the world where you have come across this message. The title is called The Browning Apple. It's about grace, self-examination, and about sin. And the illustration I'm using is an apple. Okay, so an apple sliced. I just sliced this one because it says here when an apple is sliced open, the fresh interior is exposed to the air. Right? You know that when you cut an apple in half or quarter it, the flesh interior is exposed to the air. And a process called oxidation happens, turning the apple brown, right? The minute the apple is exposed to the air, it begins to turn brown, just like this one. Okay, here, can you see it? I did this a couple of days ago, and it is very wrinkled up. Okay, this natural reaction happens quickly, bringing the apple from a crisp white on the inside to a sticky brown, right? That one feels sticky and soft. In our lives, this is similar to how quickly we can be influenced by sin when we expose ourselves to harmful environments or bad company. I'm just going to pause there for a moment because this is a very important statement. Right? And as I think back to working with people in recovery from addictions, whether it be alcohol or drugs or sex or gambling, right? They would join the recovery program that we offered, and they would do really well. For months, they would do really well because they were in a different environment, right? They were with people who wanted to recover, who did all the right things. You know, they prayed, they read their Bible, they served in the community, and they gave back by even serving in the kitchen or washing floors, things like that, right? And so they were absolutely on the way of healing and becoming the right person, the person they've always wanted to be, right? They were on that way. They were very happy with themselves. But as they got calls or even ran into exes who tried to influence them to come back to their old life, that was a big challenge for many of them. And many people who are in recovery or were in recovery left sobriety behind because they wanted to be back in that environment with their loved one. So because we as people, we're just like the apple, right? Fresh, joyful, happy on the inside, right? The apple's fresh whiteness is susceptible to the air around it, right? We are susceptible to what's going on around us. Our hearts and minds are vulnerable to the influences we surround ourselves with, right? If I'm hanging out with believers that believe as I do, that encourage me, that I can talk to, that can ask questions, or that will ask me questions, then I stay white as opposed to all shriveled up and brown. The speed at which the apple browns is similar to how rapidly we can succumb to temptations or negative behaviors when we're in the wrong place or with the wrong people. It's really easy, actually, to fall into the trap, right? When I'm hanging out with people who are always angry and shouting and being miserable, then I'm reminded of my old days. At least that's what my kids tell me, is that I was a yeller and miserable to live with. And so when I'm around people like that, it's very easy for me to go back and be the person I was. But the brown apple, right? It reminds us this, the way we behave, the way we react to things. It reminds us how vigilant we must be in guarding ourselves against influences that lead us away from what's righteous and true, right? I don't know about you, but I need to be reminded to take it easy, right? To step away from the computer, to take a break, to go for a walk, to I love to check on my flowers outside and pick some weeds that are in the planter pots, and or step away and bake a loaf of bread or something. And it's really important. Go for a drive. It's really important to guard myself against influences that leads me away from what's righteous and true, right? How about you? Let me ask that question before I move on. How are you doing in this? What kind of environment are you in? What kind of people influence you? Like an apple quickly turning brown, it's clear that our environments and associations play a critical role in our spiritual development. If I have people around me that discourage my spiritual development, right? They're not impressed by Bible reading or worship music, those kinds of things, right? What do you suppose will happen to me? I might shrivel up like that apple, right? And an apple cannot unbrown itself. And similarly, because we as humans were born into sin because of what Adam and Eve did, right? We cannot rectify our fallen state on our own, right? We can't just say 1 minute, okay, I'm all good. I'm redeemed. I'm righteous now. No, the redemption, the righteousness comes only through Jesus living in and through us. Okay? It's only through Jesus Christ that we're forgiven and made clean. His atoning sacrifice on the cross is the only means by which our sins are washed away and we are restored to righteousness, right? When I offend someone, when I hurt someone, it doesn't help when I go and buy them a big gift, right? That is, it may be nice to receive a gift, but that is not a way of healing a broken friendship, right? A broken relationship. It comes through asking for forgiveness and making sure to not ever do that again. And so, and true forgiveness, true atonement only comes because Jesus gave his life for me. He gave his life for you. And I can count on that. I can count that. I can trust the fact that he changes me. I am not the same person I was even 40 years ago, 50 years ago, 65 years ago, right? So this grace that God has offered us, right? It's not that this grace that he offers us is not a license to continue in sin, but a compelling reason to strive toward holiness. Our response should be one of gratitude, leading us to foster environments that are encouraging, that encourage and strengthen our resolve to live in a way that honors God, resisting temptations that lead to moral decay. I have a couple of examples that are kind of rummaging through my head right now, where what the behaviors, the things I do would be encouraging my way of the way of how I live my life for God. Okay, our spiritual antioxidants are prayer, reading the Word, and fellowship with believers who encourage us to grow in our walk with the Lord. Right, always mindful of the grace we have received through Jesus. Right, and so the believers, fellowship with believers. We don't want to hang out with just yes people that always say, oh no, everything you're doing is great, it's fine. We want to hang out with people who truly love Jesus and who are not afraid to say, you know what, you are off the way here. What you're doing is not right. Okay, we don't want to be afraid to have people like that in our life because we need them. Okay, so here are some action questions which you will see in the YouTube video. I will post them, and feel free to answer them. Put your comments in the comment sections so I can see your thoughts and what your answers are. So the first question is, how do your current environments or relationship influence your walk with the Lord? Right? This is really important. When I hang out with people, or when my partner, when my spouse, when they are unbelievers, or when they are not believing the same thing I do, there may be difficulties, right? Relational difficulties. When I live in an environment that is unsafe, right, then there are ways of how I react to that and respond to that, and that may not be in a way that reflects living for God. In what ways can you actively seek to surround yourself with influences that strengthen your faith? I mean, as I think about it myself, it helps to attend a church that teaches teaches me to live for Jesus, right? And that encourages me, that strengthens me. And when I face some temptations, there's someone there to talk with or pray with. What steps can you take to avoid situations that may lead to spiritual or moral decay? Well, stay away from them, right? Sometimes we don't realize what we're doing until much later, and then we need to make changes. Okay. How can you be an influence for good in the lives of others around you? That's an interesting question, isn't it? Maybe someone who has, I'm thinking of someone in particular, right? They just gave up their business. And how would that person feel? Well, I know I had to give up my business many years ago. And I remember how sad I was, how I felt like a failure, those kinds of things. So what I decided to do is to bake a bread, to give this person a gift, and to invite her to have conversations with me, to help her get over this difficult time. And reflect on a time you succumbed to negative influence. It happens to all of us, doesn't it? where we sometimes just give in to negativity. But how did you see God's grace through Jesus at work in bringing you back? Like, think about it. Was there a time when you allowed those unhealthy ways of living to come back, right? And you engaged in those and became miserable, unfriendly, not uncaring with those around you. Okay? How did God bring you back? What did you need to do? What did you do? Did you pray? Did you journal? Did you read the word? Did you listen to uplifting music that lifted up your spirit and that helped you to feel close to God? Here's some verses for you to consider. And again, I will be posting these with the video on the YouTube channel. 1 Corinthians 15:33 says, "Do not be misled. Bad company corrupts good character." Right? When an example popped in my mind just now. In Canada here, we have many people who work on the rigs in the oil field. Okay? So, and I used to work there when I was a teenager. So if someone, so let's say a Christian man goes to work in an oil field camp, and I've seen things like that. And first, when he comes there, he's following the Lord, and he's doing his prayers and reading the Bible and things like that. He talks to people, encouraging them. But over time, he begins to swear and have the odd cigarette and the odd beer. Okay, that is something that I have seen happening. It doesn't have to be. Not everyone gives up, but some people do, right? So bad company corrupts good character. If I was to hang out every day with someone who, drinks wine, okay, and keeps offering it to me, what are the chances, right, that I might actually become like them? Pretty great. That's why I stay away from things like that, people like that. Okay. James 4, 7-8. Submit yourselves then to God. Resist the devil, and he will flee from you. Come near to God, and he will come near to you. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Right? There's a lot in these two verses, right? So when I feel like I'm heading down the wrong way, it's helpful, it's vital that I submit myself to God and say, okay, God, I'm heading down the wrong road here. Please help me, right? Resist the devil and he will flee from you, right? When I turn away from the temptations, when I turn away from the things that people offer me and submit myself to God, then there's help there. Okay, I'm not on my own. Come near to God and he will come near to you, right? Because it's my choice. As my choice, I've decided to get closer to God than to the temptation. Wash your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Yeah, that's almost a sermon in itself right there. Proverbs 13:20. Walk with the wise and become wise, for a companion of fools suffers harm. Isn't that the truth, right? When I hang out with people, like I said before, who are not afraid to say, hey, Martina, what you're doing is not helping you, right? You need to rest more, or you need to go for walks. You need to take some time out and come with me. Let's walk around the water, and or let's go for a drive. Let's go for an ice cream, right? If I overwork myself, I become foolish, right? So it's important to walk with the wise, because then I become wise. Psalm 1:1-3. Blessed is the one who does not walk in step with the wicked, or stand in the way that sinners take, or sit in the company of mockers. Right? We don't want to walk with the wicked. We don't want to stand in their way, or we don't want to sit with them. Right? I mean, did you ever notice how when you hang out with people who gossip all the time, it really becomes easy to talk about people, doesn't it? So we don't want to do that. We want to find a way of how we live in a different way. But whose delight is in the law of the Lord, and who meditates on his law day and night. Right? That is something that helps us, right? Especially people who are in recovery, right? They are meditating, changing, renewing their mind, renewing their thoughts, renewing their behaviors by meditating on a new way of life, on the words that are found in the Bible, or even in other Christian literature. Okay. And the person who delights in the law of the Lord and meditates on it, right? That person is like a tree planted by streams of water. And that person yields its fruit in season, right? What kind of fruit do you offer up? What kind of fruit shows through your life, right? So Romans 12:2, do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve that God's will is, what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will, right? I really need to take a moment to consider, what am I doing? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? Right? I need to be aware of my actions and meditate on those things that God says are good for me. Right? If I only meditate on being miserable or being poor and not being able to accomplish any goals I have in my life, or whatever it is that's negative that you might be thinking about, or I might be thinking about, right? That's what I would be stuck with. That's how I would live my life. But if I am encouraged and through the word, through fellowship with other believers, through the kind of things that I allow to enter my mind, then, life is so different, right? Like even as I look out there, it's raining and gloomy. Even in those kinds of days, we can feel joy. We can feel a sense of thanksgiving for being alive and for being called by God, or for being able to serve our families, our communities. So I want to thank you so much for listening. And please, if you find me on the YouTube channel, please subscribe. And also, I'd like you to let me know what you thought of this sermon. Leave a comment. And if you're interested in hearing more, click on the bell, right? The little bell on the YouTube channel, and then you will get a notification each and every time I post a new video. And right now I'm posting Mondays and Saturdays, but I will be adding a third video on Wednesdays. So, and I'll tell you more about that. Many blessings to you. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time.